All right, you can get started, Krishnavelu. I think your microphone is muted.
Sir, my screen is visible now?
Yes.
Okay. Hello everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. This is Krishnavel. Today I am going to present my research work. The title is The Ship Maneuvering Predictions by MMG Method, guide by Professor Abhilash Somedula, Department of Ocean Engineering, IIT Madras. So overview of today's presentation is we are going to discuss about what is MMG model and their introductions and objective of this particular study, and maneuvering simulation model is achieved by using this MMG model, and what are the required captive model tests to obtain the hydrodynamical force, and from the hydrodynamical force, and what are the hydrodynamical force coefficients are need to determine them, and those hydrodynamical force coefficients and all other parameters are defined in the simulation model. So those we are using in the simulation model to obtain the turning circle maneuver as well as in the zigzag maneuver. So this presentation I only give the result of the turning circle maneuver only. So my upcoming work is try to complete our zigzag maneuver. So introduction of MMG model. What is MMG? MMG means the maneuvering modeling group. So this MMG model is one of the best solutions to predict the ship maneuvering simulations. It was developed in the Japan. So this MMG model introduced in the Japanese towing tank conference by the Japan Society of Naval Architects and Ocean Engineers. So this method is used to predict the ship maneuvering simulations of the ship model as well as in the full scale. This is also called as the prediction method. This particular MMG model have the coordinate system, and there are the motion equations and the hull, rudder and hydrodynamical force and their interaction components and etc. So objective of the study is we are trying to predict the maneuvering simulation of the ship, and from the maneuvering simulation we are trying to understand the maneuvering behavior of the model ship as well as in the full scale ship. If you are able to predict the hydrodynamical force coefficients are defined in the MMG model for the various kind of the ships, then those data is used to define or predict the maneuvering simulations for the various kind of the ship. We can also compare which kind of the ship working in the good performance in the maneuvering, in the turning circle test as well as in the zigzag test, and also in the full scale model, full scale ship also. So this particular MMG model have the have the reference frame. Everyone heard about it, the coordinate system. The coordinate system is the first one is the space fixed coordinate system is in the x naught, O naught is the origin, and the x naught, y naught, and z naught acting in the downward direction, and the body fixed frame is acting in the midpoint of the ship, and the heading angle means the angle between the space fixed coordinatum in the x-axis to the body fixed coordinatum of the x-axis. And rudder angle is whenever we are applying the rudder angle in the ship, then it gives that rudder angle. It may be rotate in the port side and the starboard side. And if you are try to turn the ship in the maneuvering at the time of the maneuvering motions, the resultant velocity acting in the tangential directions. So the tangential velocity to the axis, x-axis in the body fixed frame is known as the drift angle. So therefore, we can able to predict the drift angle by using this formula, the tan inverse of Vm by u. Vm means velocity acting on the midship. The resultant the tangential velocity, or otherwise known as the total velocity, is to estimate the square root of the u squared plus Vm squared. U is ship moving in the forward speed in the x direction. From that, Vm means we know that velocity acting in the midship. V means the lateral velocity acting in the at the center of the gravity. Therefore, the velocity is equal to Vm plus xg plus r. Xg means the longitudinal position of the center of the gravity and multiplied with the yaw rate. Then we can able to get the lateral velocity at the center of the gravity. The MMG model have the motion equations. The motion equations are expressed are these are the a starting stage of the motion equations. The right hand side of the equations Fy, Fx, Fy and moment, the forces in the such directions, y direction, and the momentum acting in z with respect to z axis. We can obtain from this in the hydrodynamical forces. We can combine with these two equations, then we are getting this and these equations. Then these equations are represented in the dimensional form. This x, y, z in the hydrodynamical forces acting on the ship. We know that the hydrodynamical forces acting on the ship in the search force means with respect to the ship hull, rudder, and the propeller. And similarly, the sway force is the sway hydrodynamical force is the with respect to the hull and the rudder only, and similarly the yaw moment with respect to hull and rudder. Because there is no propeller force in the sway and the moment yaw moment, because the propeller force acting in the forward direction only. Therefore, no sway forces, no hydrodynamic forces due to the propeller in the lateral directions and the moment. So these are the initially we have the equations in the dimensional form. In the maneuvering simulation model, we are try to using the non-dimensional form to predict the maneuvering behavior, maneuvering simulation of the model ship as well as in the full scale. So first one is the non-dimensional hydrodynamical force and moment acting on the ship. Then x prime is equal to, and the similarly the forces in the hull, rudder, and the propeller and the prime, and everything similarly in the sway force and the moment, and the non-dimensional hydrodynamical forces and the moment acting on the ship hull. So these are the hydrodynamical derivative we are try to determine from the captive model test. So this R naught we are get it from the ship resistance test. We are conducting the ship resistance test, how much frictional resistance acting on the ship. So those things we are get it from the self-propulsion test. So we know that this hydrodynamical derivative, all the non-dimensional hydrodynamical derivative are the coefficients with respect to the velocity at the midship and the yaw rate in the non-dimensional form. So we have discussed about the hull, force and moment with respect to hull of the vessel. Next one is non-dimensional hydrodynamical forces due to propeller. We know that the propeller force in the force in the lateral and the moment is 0. So only we are considering in the search force only. In the this one is the dimensional form. So this xp is equal to 1 minus dp into t. T means the propeller thrust, and dp means the thrust reduction factor. Thrust reduction factor means when we are conduct the self-propulsion test, at the time that the rate of shear of the boundary layer also forming. So the boundary layer and it gives the frictional resistance to the ship. So in the propeller thrust is gives the more speed when compared into the resistance, then only the ship will move in the forward directions. Hello, sir.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Then JP is the propeller advance ratio. These are the formula used to predict that propeller advance ratio, and this WP is means the wake coefficients at the propeller positions. The wake coefficients, if you are considering in the wave profile acting on the ship hull, it's the like the motion of the crust and the trough. It maybe gives the orbital velocity motion of the wave profile acting in the propeller positions. It may be the positive or negative. It's dependent upon the vicinity of the propellers.
Krishna, hello. I think two questions, or at least I would like to see two questions answered.
Yes.
One is there is this thrust deduction factor, correct? TP.
Yes.
And the other is WP, which is the wake fraction.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Why do we need two factors, TP and WP? Why are they required?
TP is needed for how much thrust reductions factor we need to reduce. Whenever the ship, if we are conducting in the ship propulsion test, at the time how much thrust acting on the propeller. Those things we are predicted from the propeller thrust detection in the dynamometer, sir.
No, the thrust is the thrust which is getting from the propeller, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why does that need to be reduced?
Due to the ship resistance acting in the opposite directions.
Yeah, so the ship resistance is equal to the thrust. Only then the speed will stabilize. But why does the thrust reduce by 1 minus Tp times T? Tp is greater than 0, right?
Yes, sir.
So therefore this 1 minus Tp is less than 1. Correct?
No, sir. TP is less than 1, sir, not greater than 1.
No, 1 minus Tp is less than 1.
Yes, sir.
So which means you're not getting the total effect of the thrust. So what you're adding in the surge motion of this vehicle is not the total thrust, but some lesser fraction of the thrust. Why that lesser fraction?
Yes, sir. Because if you are conducting the propeller thrust without, because whenever the ship moving the propeller speed in water, it's not it's the value is lower when compared into the descent speed of the propeller, sir.
What is lower? I didn't
The
follow again. What is lower?
The propeller thrust, sir. The speed of the propeller.
The speed of the propeller is going to stay the same what you have designed for, no? The speed doesn't change. You rotate it using an engine, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So then that speed won't change. But the thrust is less.
I am not familiar with this parameter, sir. I learned something from the internet.
Okay. What about the others who are also looking at the same MMG model? Ashwin, any thoughts?
Yes, sir.
Any thoughts why the thrust deduction factor is required? Why does it come?
Yeah, you explained last time it was because it was due to the decrease in the flow velocity
Decrease in the flow velocity.
at the rudder. Where there.
Then what is wake fraction?
And wake fraction is the decrease in the wake due to the decrease in the wake behind the propeller.
Decrease in the wake. No, that is also velocity only decrease, no?
Yes, yes.
Yes, and I'm trying to see how much of it you guys are retaining of what I said. What is the difference between TP and WP?
You explained last time, but I forgot. Yes.
Yes, if you keep forgetting, then what's the point for me to explain? Okay, all right. Anybody else who wants to give it a shot?
Should I try, sir?
Yes.
What I understand is that the ship's hull, because of that, that there is a form drag, right? So that reduces the speed of the ship, like sorry.
That is the resistance, correct?
Yeah. So that creates some wake, like because of the hull of the ship, some wake is created, and that is one factor that the wake fraction is generating from that thing. But TP is generating from the propellers. The propeller is rotating, and that is creating some wake, like. Because of the propeller itself, there is some contribution to the resistance of the resistance for the ship.
Due to the contribution of the propeller, there is an increase in resistance.
Yeah.
That is what this TP stands for, you're saying.
TP comes from there.
Okay, I think you have it slightly wrong. I think your explanation of WP is correct. So when the ship is moving forward, which means that there is a flow coming from this way, and there is a boundary layer which is getting developed, and you typically will see the flow getting separated at the back. So therefore, the velocity at the propeller disc is going to be lower than the free stream velocity with which the ship is moving forward.
Yes, I remember that. The WP is due to the difference in the velocity. Yes.
Correct. So the WP is simply talking about the flow velocity locally at the propeller being lesser than the free stream velocity of the ship. But the other part, which is the thrust deduction factor, that comes into account because now I have a propeller which is operating behind the hull, which is what is it doing? It's kind of like acting as a suction disc, right? As if I put a vacuum cleaner there and I'm trying to pull the fluid out. So what is it doing? It is accelerating the flow, which is close to the hull in front of the propeller. Is that making sense? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you please explain that?
Yeah, you have a propeller which is acting at the back. It's trying to throw the fluid back, right? So it's
Yes,
trying
sir.
to pull the fluid on this side.
Yes, sir.
So if the propeller was not there, a typical resistance test, when you do, what you do, you only take the bare hull without the propeller, you hold it, and then you tow it in a carriage. That is how you compute resistance, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now you think that there is a propeller acting at the back while I am carrying it. Then what is happening? That propeller is also accelerating the flow. So there is some additional resistance because the local flow there has increased in velocity. It is still lesser than the free stream velocity because of the separation effects. But nevertheless, it is a little better than what it was when I was only towing the bare hull. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
And that increase in velocity is causing an increase in resistance. And that resistance has to be countered by your thrust. So the portion of your thrust which is actually taking care of the actual bare hull resistance is that 1 minus Tp times T. And Tp times T is that augmented resistance which is coming due to the propeller, which is now being satisfied by your thrust. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So there is kind of two components. It's kind of because the propeller is behind the ship, it's pulling the flow of water, and that additional pull of the flow generates an additional resistance, which needs to be countered by that additional thrust Tp times T. Okay. So that's why the factor you see 1 minus Tp times T, it actually is an additional resistance, but is captured mathematically as a reduction in thrust. But in reality, it's actually an increase in resistance. You can think of that as 1 divided by 1 minus Tp times the resistance is the actual resistance. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. So that's why we have these. And kind of let's not forget those. Let's keep them at the back of our mind. Okay? And let's proceed further.
Yes. So from we are trying to predict the propeller thrust from the self-propulsion test. Then this T prime is the non-dimensional propeller thrust obtained from these parameters. From that we can convert the non-dimensional hydrodynamic force due to propeller into the non-dimensional form. This K0, K1, K2, those are the coefficients used in the propeller open water characteristics. And NP is the number of propeller revolutions in RPS. At the time of the self-propulsion test, we are gives the various revolutions, various RPS, various revolution, then check out that the responses and the propeller thrust. And dP is the diameter of the propeller. Then this TP is WP is the wake coefficients in the maneuvering motions. It's estimated by the thrust identification method in the oblique towing tank test and with a circular motion test. These equations are used to predict the coefficients of the C2. So this graph shows that whenever the beta B is the geometrical inflow angle to the propeller in the maneuvering motions, it's positive, then we can able to say that the coefficients value CT is 1.6. Then in the beta B is the a negative value, then it becomes the C2 is the 1.1. And the geometrical inflow angle to the propeller in the maneuvering motion is the wake characteristics is asymmetry with respect to the horizontal axis of the beta B.
Yeah, so why is it asymmetric? Why is the two curves? So for example, if I look at the dotted line on the plot, one side looks different than the other, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Why is it different?
Because the
Awesome.
propeller rotates one way.
The propeller rotates one way, okay. Because of that, what happens? Your answer is partly right. Keep going.
So that makes the flow not asymmetric in the different directions.
It's not, okay. I think we kind of need to understand what beta P here means. So what beta P here means is that if my ship is like this and the propeller is acting behind, but I am actually not, my velocity is not straight, but at an angle, right? So let's say my ship is turning and it's kind of has a sway velocity as well. Then what's happening at the propeller disc is that the local inflow angle of the flow into the propeller disc is what is called as by this beta P. Okay, and it's saying that whether the inflow angle is coming from this way on this side or from this way, it will look different to the propeller because the propeller is turning only in one direction. Is that making sense?
Sir, hello, sir.
Yes, Aditya.
Yeah. Could you explain this properly, the beta P angle?
Yes. So beta P angle is nothing but it is telling you what is the geometrical inflow angle to the propeller while it is connected to behind the ship. So you want to know, see, the entire thrust which you're getting from the propeller comes because of the aerofoil theory, right? You are having a lower pressure and a higher pressure on the two sides of the propeller, which results in a thrust, and that thrust is basically pushing your ship.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. So at the end of the day, the local angle of attack, which you are looking at the propeller, at different sections of the propeller, it's a continuously varying propeller, isn't it? So it is very important to figure out what is the local flow velocity at that point in order to predict how much thrust you are generating. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
So if I want that local inflow angle or what is the direction of the flow at that point is experiencing beta P as the angle at which the flow is coming to the propeller. Now the propeller is rotating one way, and one case the flow is coming this way, in the other case the flow is coming from this way. But it's rotating in one direction. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that is why you will see that how the flow pattern changes will be different versus how you are looking at the beta P angle. It will not be symmetric. It's no longer starboard port symmetric. And this is why when Ashwin was trying to do the turning circle maneuver last time towards the port and towards the starboard, he was not getting the same turning circle. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But on the contrary, if you're looking at submarines, right? If you have like nuclear submarines or defense submarines, you will find that in order to counter this effect, to counter this asymmetry, what they have is what are called contra-rotating propellers, which means on the same shaft, you have one propeller which is rotating this way and the other propeller which is rotating this way. So it is a left-handed propeller is one, mounted along with a right-handed propeller. Then you will see that this effect more or less kind of corrects itself. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's proceed, Krishnavelu.
Yes. Yes, sir. Then we are going to see that the non-dimensional hydrodynamical force and moment due to the rudder. And similarly, this dimensional form converted into the non-dimensional form. And similarly, we can try to convert the non-dimensional form of the force and moment due to the rudder. And this rudder normal force in the non-dimensional frame, we know that the rudder normal force to the half of the rho LD the U squared. So the rudder normal force obtained from the lateral and the longitudinal inflow velocity to the rudder. So from the STR is the steering in the search force in the surface to the rudder is depending upon the TR. TR means the steering resistance reduction factor. So steering resistance reduction factor means whenever we are applying the steering, it is the additional resistance caused by the applications of the rudder. Then AH means whenever we are applying the rudder, there is some additional lateral force acting on the ship hull due to the it is induced by the rudder. So that is we are able to determine the AH. AH is equal to delta minus delta y divided by this lift force. Then XR is the longitudinal coordinate of the rudder positions in the x-axis, and similarly XH is this longitudinal coordinate of the additional lateral force acting in these positions. This may be the XR prime is the minus 0.5, and similarly the non-dimensional longitudinal coordinate of the position, the additional lateral force position is minus 0.45. This place 0.5, this place 0.45 from the center of from the mid of the ship. Then this formula is lateral inflow velocity to the rudder. This figure shows that the lateral inflow velocity, longitudinal inflow velocity and the lateral inflow velocity to the rudder. From that we can able to determine that total velocity. And then VR dash also obtained from this flow straightening coefficient is the gamma R. Gamma is the beta minus LR prime into R prime. LR prime is the effective longitudinal coordinate of the rudder positions. Effective longitudinal coordinate means whenever we are considering the rudder at present in the position, at the time we are measuring that length in the longitudinal directions. And similarly, beta are measured from the drift angle acting on the ship minus of this the same portion. And this part is called as the beta R. Beta R means the drift angle at the midship. And then this similar formula, we can this time is the square of this longitudinal inflow velocity. We are changing converted into the square root taken into the right hand side. Then we are getting this formula. This lateral and the longitudinal inflow velocity are substituted in these equations to obtain the non-dimensional rudder normal force. And then this eta is the ratio of the diameter of the propeller to the length of the and the span of the rudder.
Okay, Krishnavelu, what's happening? Why is this you are looking like whatever is inside that square root?
Yes, sir.
Why is that coming? Why is that term coming? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This part is the interaction between the propeller and the rudder. Sir.
This part is the interaction between the propeller and the rudder.
Sir, KT is dependent upon the propeller.
Not quite between the. It's not quite the interaction between propeller and the rudder. Anyone else?
Sir, so because of the
Anybody
pressure of
else?
the propeller, the flow and the rudder will be different. So to account for that, we have the term.
Will be different how?
The flow velocity at the propeller rudder will be different due to the presence of the propeller.
Different meaning it will be higher or lower?
It will be it will be higher, but the area, I mean, there will be a so there will be yeah, it should be higher, yeah.
It should be higher.
Yeah.
Correct. But then we are only having, like, I'm only saying that there is a ratio eta times this higher velocity plus 1 minus eta times lower velocity, which is 1 in this case.
Yeah.
So why the lower velocity for 1 minus eta?
Sir, only the portion behind the propeller slipstream will experience the higher velocity. Rest all will experience the free flow.
Correct. Correct. So you're looking at the slipstream of the propeller. So you have the propeller operating at some region or over some disk. So over behind the disk, there will be a higher velocities. But as I go further away or below from that center line of the disk, the velocity is going to decrease. Yeah. So that portion of the overlap between the rudder and the propeller is denoted by that area or that factor eta, which is dP by the height of the rudder, the diameter of the propeller to the ratio of the rudder height. So that much coverage is there between the propeller and the rudder. Okay, and beyond that, we are assuming that the flow is kind of becoming slower, or it is equal to the free stream flow which is coming from the outside, and that's why that difference you are observing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move forward.
Yes.
Let's see some results, Krishnavelu.
Sir, we are come to the close. Then these non-dimensional equations we are modified from the initial equations, and then these equations of motions are solved by using the MATLAB OD45 solutions, and from this from that we are able to obtain the maneuvering simulation of the vessels in the turning circle as well as in the zigzag maneuver. So in the maneuvering simulation of the model ship and the full scale, we can able to predict the maneuvering simulation by using this MMG model. Then these the required hydrodynamical hydrodynamical force coefficients and the parameters are obtained from the required captive model test. This table shows that we are conducting the captive model test by using the L3 model. L3 means the length of the ship is 3 meters. It's close to the 2.9, the 3 meter. And similarly, this L7 model ship used to conduct the free running model test, and these are the full scale parameters. Okay, these are the required captive model test. One is the rudder force test in the straight moving without any turning, and another one is the oblique towing tank under the circular motion test. It is otherwise known as the rotating arm test, and another one is the initial and the first test. Now we are able to do it with the slope. The rudder force test in the oblique towing tank under the steady turning conditions. These three tests able to conduct to obtain the required hydrodynamical force coefficients and the required parameters from these are defined in the maneuvering simulation model. Some other parameters also.
Just a small doubt in the previous slide.
Yeah.
So L3 model is 1/100 scale. So shouldn't the LPP be 3.2 meter?
Good observation. It should be 3.2 meters if the full scale is 320 meters. But it's possible that they may have reported it slightly erroneously. They sometimes might have taken LOA, length overall, compared to LPP, but that's clearly wrong.
And even length overall should be even greater, right?
Yes. So what they have messed up is they probably have taken either the scale wrong or the LPP is one of the two is wrong. Probably.
Sir, actually the length is 1:110, 110.
110. So the scale is wrong, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So if you take 110, then you probably will see 290.
Yes.
Yes. So we are take the model ship is the KVL CC2 tanker ship. So these some other parameters are required to obtain this kind of the parameters. We are conducting the hull rudder interaction coefficients are the T or AH and the XH prime and the epsilon and the K we are obtaining from the other required test, and we are conducting the straight moving the ship with the effective wake able to find out, and WP naught is the effective wake coefficients in the ship moving in the straight moving. We are using the 0.4 value for the L7 model and 0.35 for the full scale, and the rudder lift force coefficient used to this formula is the Fuji formula to obtain that F alpha. This aspect ratio means we are considering the rudder with including the horn part. Whenever we are considering that AR is the rudder area, at the time we are not considering this horn part. Therefore, in the movable part of rudder only we are considering.
Okay, an interesting question. Let's go back. All right. Why is the wake fraction higher for the small model and lower for the full scale? Anyone? Come on, you can try.
Full scale model will produce less wake comparison to models.
It's not saying it will produce less wake. It is saying that the velocity of the flow at the back of a full scale model compared to the design speed will be lower, which means that the decrease in velocity is lower, whereas the decrease in velocity is higher for the model. Why? The flow slows down more with the model compared to the full scale.
Maybe because the model is small, the fluid won't have like in full scale model it will have better chance of how can I say that?
It'll have a better chance of
Like not separating or generating that wake.
No, not talking. So you mean to say that it will not separate in full scale, but it will separate in model scale?
Like in full scale, the separation might be less compared to model.
Why?
Because so the fluid that we are using, which is water, is same. So
It's actually not, because full scale uses seawater, but model scale will use fresh water. But okay, I'll give you that it's not much different.
Sir, sir, is it because of change in Reynolds number?
Now we are talking. Okay, what is going to happen?
In full scale, we actually have a higher Reynolds number as compared to a model scale.
Okay.
So due to that, what happens is that the boundary layer, which is surrounding the ship or near to the ship, will be different.
Okay.
So due to that, the velocity will also be different near the or around the hull.
Okay, you're saying different, but you have to explain to me why the full scale will have lower loss. The Reynolds number for which one will be higher?
For the full scale, it will be higher.
Full scale will be higher, right? So if the Reynolds number is higher, the flow is more or turbulent.
The flow is more this one, like more laminar.
It's more laminar?
Yeah, it would be less turbulent.
If the full scale, in the full scale case,
yeah,
Reynolds number increases, the flow becomes more laminar or more turbulent?
It's more turbulent.
So for the full scale, the flow will be?
More turbulent.
More turbulent. But for the model scale, it will be less turbulent, possibly even laminar.
Yeah.
Correct? So now, given that piece of information, why should the laminar flow experience a larger reduction in velocity? It's a percentage reduction. So it's basically saying 40% reduction here, whereas 35% reduction in the full scale. Why? And the answer lies somewhere that because the flow is turbulent, the turbulent boundary layer is thinner. Okay? Because the gradient is very close to the hull. Your velocities are actually, the fluid velocities are able to come closer to the hull. Higher velocity fluid streams are able to get closer to the hull. So what's happening there is the separation occurs in both of them, but the turbulent layer sustains for a longer time. So the separation happens further down the line compared to the laminar flow. The laminar separates faster on the surface. So if you look at the point of separation, you will find that the separation point for the laminar flow is ahead of the separation point of the turbulent flow.
Okay.
And that's what will cause this decrease in velocity to be less in the turbulent flow. Is that kind of making some sense, or is it still confusing
Yes, makes sense.
for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Sir, this table shows that the required hydrodynamical force coefficients and parameter used in the MMG model simulations. So finally, the maneuvering simulations, I worked in the only the tanning circle simulations for the L7 model only. So all the required hydrodynamical force coefficient parameter used to simulate the tanning circle maneuver with applying the rudder angle plus or minus 35 degree. So this figure shows that the ship velocity and yaw rate for the L7 model only. These are the U1 is the acting in the ship moving the starboard side. Lambda is equal to minus 35 degree. U1, the U1, U2 are similarly close. Next one is the V1 and R1 is shows as the starboard side of the sway velocity and the yaw rate. And similarly, and V2 and R2. Then we are given the result of the ship trajectory for the L7 model.
Krishna, can you again briefly explain what all those legends indicate? U1, V1.
Yeah, U1, V1 are the longitudinal velocity, like the sway velocity, surge velocity, sway velocity, and the yaw rate. Yeah.
Okay.
These are dimensional values or non-dimensional? Are these dimensional values which are plotted or non-dimensional values?
Dimensional also.
I think they may be non-dimensional. I think they are non-dimensional. Your speed, forward speed, U1 and U2,
yes, sir,
starts from 1. It is clearly non-dimensional, I think. You want to check up your simulation later.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Can you go to the next plot? Okay, so these are the results which you got from both of them. But how does this compare against the results they have given in the paper? Can we compare?
Not right. Yes, I need to try to figure out the same thing in the full scale model. Then we are going to compare with those results in the paper provided in the MMG models.
Okay, all right. But I also want you to look at against the result which is given in the paper, whether you are able to match this or not. I think you can kind of get in touch with Avanish a little bit, because I know that he's been working. Am I right, Avanish?
Yes, sir. So here itself, I think we can compare with the full scale because he's plotting x0 by L.
Correct.
He's sort of doing that. So it should be like 3 to 4 times of the ship's length. And probably he can compare what exactly there in the paper with this turning itself, because it doesn't matter whether you are using the full scale or the model one.
Model scale. Correct.
Yes.
Although there will be slight differences wherever those scale effects come into the picture.
Right, right. But in terms of like full tactical diameter and all with this plot, I think we can match.
Okay. So Krishnavelu, you try this and check. If it is not matching, you contact Avanish and try to figure out where your model is missing any terms, if at all. If it matches, then that means it's more or less sorted.
Sorry, it's not matching perfectly, sir. Slightly deviating.
Okay, so then you get in touch with Avanish and hopefully you can kind of take a look at his model and he can take a look at, or he can take a look at your model, whichever way you want to do it, and then hopefully try to correct it. Okay.
Sure, sir. So our work is next try to be simulate the same thing in turning circle simulation in the full scale, and similarly try to simulate the zigzag maneuver in the L7 model as well as in the full scale, and finally compare the maneuvering simulation in the both of the model, and after that we are comparing to the which one gives that good maneuvering behavior or good maneuvering simulation is achieved by this analogy method. These are the upcoming works. Maybe I will try to finish in the next presentations. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing which was sort of missing here was, this is not your goal. This is not the final point where you want to achieve. You want to look at maneuvering in waves, isn't it?
Yes.
So maybe next time you can give us a little bit more flavor on what happens when you try to maneuver in waves. How does that change things compared to looking at the calm water? So I understand you're trying to look at the calm water scenario for now, trying to get that simulation right. And then you want to move into the idea that if we apply the waves on top of this, what sort of a situation are you going to get at, or what sort of the trajectories are you going to get at, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of the real fun part as to how do you capture the effect of the waves accurately enough. Hey, that's important. And that reason for that is there is a new regulation out there, and this is generic information I'm trying to give you, okay? Where the International Maritime Organization is trying to figure out that can we make the ships to be less powered? Can we reduce the power of the ships, right? So if you reduce the power of the ship, then you are kind of hitting at its, speed of operation, or design speed is what you're hitting at. And the idea then becomes that suppose I have strong waves in one direction, does it so happen that with a reduced power, it is not able to maneuver itself out? Is it drifting with the waves, or can it maintain its course? That's the problem of maneuvering in waves, which wants to be on, or which is what we are looking to answer, right?
Yes, sir.
And how far can we go down? How low powered can we still make it and still be able to maneuver ourselves? And that's an active area of research, because if a uniform regulation comes through saying that you have to power your ships with smaller engines, then it should not leave you to be more susceptible or vulnerable to other sorts of instabilities. You should be able to maintain course at all times. A ship which cannot guarantee that it will maintain course at all times is an unstable ship, or is not a safe ship. So it's a contrast between trying to reduce the emissions by putting a smaller engine versus the stability of the ship itself. You don't want to compromise on the stability, but you still want to reduce the power. And how much can that be done is what, in a sense, you are going to be looking at, isn't it? So this is just a precursor to where you are heading. Is where you want to be is to look at what is the maneuvering characteristics in waves. And I think that part was kind of not touched upon in today's presentation, but hopefully by the next time, I am hoping that you can talk more about those elements, which makes this interesting, which makes this research really exciting.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions, queries?
Sir, I have one.
Go ahead.
Can you please go to slide number 5?
Yeah.
Sir, shouldn't rudder to the port side be positive in this diagram?
Ideally, yes, but sometimes you also see this convention where the starboard rudder is taken as positive. sometimes you see that as well. So you will find a kind of contradictory behavior here as compared to what you learned in the class, that the port side rudder should be positive.
Okay.
Okay, so it does happen. So some conventions, they do choose starboard rudder to be positive, in which case the Y delta and N delta of theirs will have a different sign than what we have discussed in our courses. I think in essence, that's where you're looking to tailor this question to, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. Any other thoughts? Any other questions, comments? Okay. I think some of you are already looking at, and I can kind of see that what Ashwin was looking at and what Krishnavelu are looking at are kind of the similar problems. Okay. So Ashwin, Krishnavelu and Avanish, you might want to kind of get together to see whether the modeling aspects are right or if some changes are required depending on whose modeling is right and whose modeling is wrong. Okay. I think that's a healthy discussion to have. Where the starting points are similar, but I think your research then digresses in different directions. So it's good to evaluate your starting points or to help one another to make sure that that starting hurdle is taken care of well would be important. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from our newer members? Avanish?
No, sir. It's all okay. I will probably have to go much more in detail because I have still doubt with this rudder forces, which is like showing that sine and cos, but I'm not. I mean, it's showing both as sine components, but I'm not sure. I have to, yeah. So that's why I cannot comment now.
Part? Which part? I didn't understand.
Where he's calculating the rudder
forces. Yeah, I think one of them is wrong. Correct. Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that one of them should be cos there. YR prime should be cos delta.
Sir, both of the cos alpha. I had some mistakes.
Yeah, both those bottom two should be cos delta.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So let me stop recording.